Hello, wrestling fans. Blake Smith from Walking the Ropes, and welcome to another episode of Walking the Ropes Wrestling Review for AEW Dynamite from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. To open the show, we had Bryan Danielson addressing his Forbidden Door and Blood and Guts status. Says it's a great week to be a pro wrestling fan, and he starts to talk about Forbidden Door and Blood and Guts. Says they are polar opposites when it comes to style, and says he was expecting to be a part of those events, but Jericho even had paid off Zack Sabre Jr. to beat Bryan and prove that he was the better professional wrestler, and Bryan was looking forward to proving him wrong, and then was looking forward to kicking Jericho's head in, but has good news and bad news. Says he's not cleared to compete at Forbidden Door or Blood and Guts, but says he will be back better than ever. Says that's not even the good news. Says Eddie calls him a judgmental prick, and he's right. He has high standards, and he's going to reveal his perfect replacement. The one person he trusts, and that person is, he's not going to tell us. He is going to make everybody wait until Forbidden Door, and that includes Zack Sabre Jr. Wants everybody to tune in to find out. My personal opinion, it's more than likely going to be Claudio. I have no guarantee on that, though. Uh, Before we are done, though, Zack Sabre Jr. does come out onto the stage, and he kind of just jaws at Bryan for a little bit there. For my WTR scale, I gave that a great. Moxley then talks backstage about his upcoming matches, but says at Blood and Guts, they will find out if the JAS can survive. Says he knows his partners are ready, but he is not sure about the JAS. Then talks about his biggest match yet against Hiroshi Tanahashi. Says he will transform into what he knows he can be. On Sunday, when the bell rings, he has no respect for anyone. For my WTR scale, I gave that a great as well. That was a fantastic promo. We then get our first match of the night. It is a trios match. Will Ospreay and Aussie Open taking on Orange Cassidy and Roppongi Vice. Orange makes his return to action after his shoulder injury and looks to get into the head of Will Ospreay ahead of their match on Sunday. It's going to be an interesting match as these two teams are very different. They go back and forth to start with the quick tags on both sides, and Orange comes in and starts to do his thing. He hasn't missed a beat as he and Vice roll taking out their opponents. Orange is eventually able to spike and then sets his sights on Will Ospreay. Vice and Orange double team Will, and they then triple dive to the outside, and Orange keeps control in the ring, and then Will shows some life. They go back and forth until both have to make the tag. This is when Rocky comes in to keep the pressure up on Mark Davies. He drops him, and Aussie Open double teams him for a near fall. Everyone is in the ring now, and Vice takes out Fletcher and sets up for a double team, but it's stopped by Will, and Mark Davis spikes Trent, only to be stopped by Orange. Will is taken out to the outside, and Trent fights back inside and makes the tag to Orange, who hits the Orange Punch and gets the win. That was, I believe, on Mark Davis. Right after the match, the Great Okan and Jeff Cobb come out to collect their boys, and then they look to beat down Vice and Orange, but FTR comes to the ring to even the score. My WTR scale, I gave that a great as well. It was fantastic how they've been building this, and Forbidden Doors looking like a brilliant pay-per-view. Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh talk backstage, and Jay says they will be celebrating, but only after Jay takes the TV championship from Joe, because it's been over a month, and he thinks if Joe doesn't defend it, he should just give it to Lethal, because he's the rightful owner and the longest reigning champion, I believe, in the history of that championship, which is very impressive. For my WTR scale, I gave that a good. We then hear from Christian Cage. He makes his way to the ring to explain his actions from last week. He says he won't speak until the fans shut up, and then says this has all been leading from Jungle Boy eliminating him in the Battle Royal, which, brilliant. Uh, but not just being eliminated, the fans cheering that he had lost. But the thing that he did, this makes it a little confusing. He decided to do a background check on Jungle Boy through social media. Talks about how toxic wrestling the toxic wrestling community is, and says he needed to recoup the losses, and this is why uh, he tried to just get paid off of Jurassic Express's successes. He gives some advice to everyone and says to try and have a match that changes the industry. And when you do that, you'll be on his level. He calls Jungle Boy talented, but the one time he doesn't come out with them, they lose and they lose the championships. Says now he had to get his hands dirty, and they show the footage of him getting in Jungle Boy's family's face. Says maybe he should, his mom's more mad that she wishes Cage was Jungle Boy's father. Says, but that's not what he wanted. He doesn't want to be his father figure because Jungle Boy's father is dead. He would be ashamed of how Jungle Boy's turned out, and this makes Luchasaurus come out. He grabs Cage, and Cage starts screaming, they need to talk, and he says something, what happened to Marco? And then says to Luchasaurus, he's like a son to him. Cage then hugs Luchasaurus, and they kind of leave together, but Luchasaurus seems very hesitant. I think we are turning Luchasaurus heel, and something might be happening with Marco's stunt. I don't know. Right, WTR scale, I gave that a great. I am looking forward to this. We then get the Young Bucks and Kyle O'Reilly talking backstage. The Bucks say everything is right with the world again and says that they will be at Forbidden Door, and Kyle says that the Bucks, Hikuleo, and El Phantasmo will be teaming up against Sting and his cronies. For my WTR scale, I gave that a good. It appears Kyle O'Reilly is not cleared currently. There seems to be a wrestling injury bug going around right now. Not a fun thing to be happening in wrestling. We then get our final match of the All-Atlantic Championship qualifying matches. We're told that Tomohiro Ishii has qualified for the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, meaning that this is the final competitor decision here. They stand toe-to-toe, Penta Oscuro and Malachi Black, and then they just start swinging. They spill to the outside, and Penta seems to have the edge, even though neither man is really in control, as they have answers for everything. Black goes to dive to the outside, but Penta ducks and then hits a flying crossbody of his own. Penta starts to come back as he has to reach down deep and hit a big kick, following it up with the rolling cutter. Black then dumps Penta off to the top and goes for a stomp, but Black moves and eats a kick and a dive. Black then sends Penta in the ring and goes to the top to hit the double foot stomp. Penta stays in it. They brawl to the top rope, and Penta hits the Fear Factor from the top rope, but he can't make it to the cover. This just gives enough time for Black to get his foot on the ropes. A very, very last second. Then they stand up, and Black hits the back heel kick out of nowhere, and that gets the win. Pac makes his way out of to stand toe to toe with one of his opponents, and we then get Miro up on the screen and asks if this is how his god is forgiving him. All he wanted was his gold and his wife, and he will be redeemed and redeem everyone at Forbidden Door. For my WTR scale, I gave that a great. I think Miro is going to win this championship. Wardlow then says if he doesn't get what he wants, he simply takes it, and all he wants right now is the TNT Championship. Says that when Sky is ready, he will take him to Wardlow's world. For my WTR scale, I gave that a good. That is, I'm looking forward to whatever we do here. I have a feeling Wardlow is going to take the title off of Sky, even though he hasn't had it for very long. still seems like the right thing to do here. We then get a Hangman Adam Page match taking on Silas Young. Silas Young is making his AEW debut, but he does so against a familiar foe in the Hangman. Hangman has changed a lot since their Ring of Honor days, and I'm sure the same can be said for Silas. Page has been taking on some of the top guys around different promotions lately, seemingly trying to claim his spot against Jay White. Young and Page go back and forth to start out, and Page starts to take the hard chops to Silas. Silas, though, pokes the eyes out and starts to come back, keeping a step ahead of Page. They go back and forth for a while, and Young starts to roll, slowly picking apart Page. He gets a few near falls and keeps on Page, but Page answers with hard shots of his own. Page then tosses Silas out and seems to have hit a new gear. Young goes for a springboard, but Hangman moves and then hits the buckshot lariat and gets the win. After the match, Adam Cole grabs a mic but is cut off by the switchblade. And Jay says that he owes Cole an explanation. It says he is responsible for making Forbidden Door as big as it can be, and he wants to make it about Undisputed Elite and Bullet Club. But because Cole lost to Page twice, he can't be that person. Jay says everyone is dying to know who he will face, and he says it's not going to be Page either. Jay and Cole then beat down Page. And Cole sets up to take Jay out, definitely, but then he stops and says, "Oh no, I was going for Page." And that's when Kazuchika Okada comes out, and he makes the save, and Okada and Page beat down everybody, and then they stand toe-to-toe. I am so looking forward to this. We get a confirmation later in the show that it will be a 4-man championship match. Jay White defending against Adam Cole, Hangman Adam Page, and Kazuchika Okada. I cannot fucking wait. Jade Cargill talks about how Red Velvet is injured and says that the show must go on. Stokely Hathaway says they are looking for a new baddie. Athena and Chris talk about what they just heard, and they could care less. They are ready to take on anyone who gets in their way, and they have Willow Nightingale as well. For my WTR scale, I gave this all a good. I mean, it seems to be a pretty decent story going forward. We then get Marina Shafir versus Toni Storm. Marina seems to have a new backup in Nyla Rose and looks to take care of Toni tonight, which is a tall task. Storm is starting to lock in, or they both start to lock in a variety of holds and throws, going back and forth. Shafir then dumps Toni to the outside, and it allows Nyla to drop her while the ref is distracted. Shafir is just choking out Toni at this point, and she's looking like she may just pick up the win over the challenger. But Toni fights out and just straight headbutts Shafir. She follows it up with a spinning DDT on the outside and hits a hip attack on Marina, and goes to pick her up, but after Toni rolls her... Marina then comes back out of nowhere and picks up Toni, and then Toni rolls her up and gets the win. Nyla and Marina jump Toni after the match, and Thunder Rosa comes out to make the save. Toni and Rosa go face to face as they look ready to clash this Sunday, and I'm so looking forward to Forbidden Door. Cannot wait. For my WTR scale, I gave that a great. Sting and Darby Allin talk about what the Undisputed Elite had to say. Darby says he doesn't believe Kyle's isn't cleared and says they have some friends anyways. They have Shingo and Harumo. I cannot wait. They're going to take out the Undisputed Elite one by one. For my WTR scale, I gave that a good. Rey Fenix talks about how Andrade took his title shot by giving him a low blow. He challenges Andrade to a match on Rampage, and Andrade accepts. For my WTR scale, I gave that all a good. We then get our main event of the evening. Lance Archer and Chris Jericho versus Jon Moxley and Hiroshi Tanahashi. This is going to be epic. AEW is giving us Tanahashi for free on AEW, and it's just going to be great. Tanahashi is a next level performer, and he has earned the title of Ace. They just go back and forth brawling. Everybody is just kind of wearing everybody down. Jericho is using Sammy to get involved whenever he can. Jericho and Archer take control, sending Moxley flying, and Jericho uses his friends on the outside some more, and Moxley is finally able to come back after taking a brutal beating. Tanahashi comes in and changes everything. He flies and takes out Jericho with a senton, but only gets a near fall. Everybody kind of comes in the ring, and everybody is just laid out. Jericho looks like he is about to end it as he has locked in the walls, and Moxley breaks it up, hits the paradigm shift on Archer. Tanahashi then hits the high fly flow on Archer for the win. And after the match, it's just absolute chaos. Everybody that's involved in the JAS saga, and they all come out and they start brawling as Moxley and Tanahashi stand toe-to-toe in the center of the ring. Just fantastic storytelling. For my WTR scale, I gave this all a great. But that's all. For my overall of the show, I gave it a great. That was a fantastic show. I mean, the last Dynamite before Forbidden Door, and it felt great. My segment of the night goes to Cage explaining his reasoning, I guess, kind of. I'm looking forward to see if they are actually turning Luchasaurus heel. My match of the night goes to the main event, and the performance of the night goes to Tanahashi and Moxley, specifically for that last bit where everybody was brawling and they were just standing toe to toe. I feel like that's a really nice detail of storytelling. They could have gotten involved if they wanted to, but they only cared about themselves, what is going on between them two. But that is all for this episode of Walking on the Ropes Wrestling Review. Thank you all for dropping in. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notifications whenever we upload a video. And I will see you in the next one.